My name is John Kani. I'm an actor, a director, and a writer, and I produce my own work.
Umaziphathe kodwa ke leyiswa akuzanga nayo inkululeko.
Which means?
Well, you see, the absence of grandmothers within the African family structure has taken the magic of once upon a time, right in the evening after dinner, away from the younger generation. When I grew up, my grandfather had 3 wives and could not spell polygamy. He just said 3 wives, didn't know that word exists. So I would be grandmother 1, grandmother 2, grandmother 3. And they all were telling different stories. So that's sitting around and looking at her, sitting a little in the room, and the magic. That's theater. So it translates very quickly from grandmother stories to the stage. But now we don't have the grandmother. You guys just leave home after graduating. You don't even go back to where you were born. You work in the city where the university was. You get headhunted. You meet with Doris, and you and Nothembelihle have a flat in Rosebank, and it breaks. So when then you bring your kids home to see over holidays, and they're going to say, "Hi, Grandpa," and I would say, "Lumdam tedis ngizukupela." Yes, Dad. See, that's disconnect. So when kids are introduced to theater quite early, because they do at kindergarten, a clown visits, they do in primary schools because they're taken to some musical somewhere. It's just that we as parents have not sort of continued the kind of social interaction of the child. Every play I write, my whole being as an artist, I'm a storyteller. What I do is to hold the mirror to the society. What you see on the mirror is not my problem, it's your problem. If you think this is a socio-political sort of undertones, you're dealing with all your hang-ups and your issues. I didn't do that. I just told a story of a man who is white. We're about to celebrate 25 years of our democracy. And I asked this white man, "What would you celebrate in 25 years? He gives me a long grocery list of complaints. This is a failed state, the violence, the corruption, the unemployment, the economy. Then I asked Lunga, who is black, "What are you celebrating in 25 years? He says, "I'm alive. That's what I'm celebrating, and I'm a member of a free society. I live in my country with all opportunities available, but I do have problems. I do have challenges." He does not write off our democracy. Then I thought I could write a play about that. And that's what I do in this play. And the other one, Missing, what I did was to follow an exile who came all the way after 27 years and still remember Sophia Town, still remember KwaMashu. There's no KwaMashu now when he's married to Ethel from Jamaica. She's not going to live in KwaMashu. She's going to live in Senton. She wants to be in a hotel, you see. And then in Nothing But the Truth, I examined reconciliation. Because my brother was shot by the police. He was a poet in 1985. And in 2002, I wrote the play Understanding Why He Died. I could not forgive. I could ask you to forgive. I will explain to you what truth and reconciliation means. But I couldn't explain that to me because I was bleeding. I was wounded inside. And finally, I wrote that play to say, I do understand. You gave the ultimate price for who I am and what we are. And thank you to your generation. That's what I do as a playwright. I always tell stories. I want to see what's happening. We have come up from nearly 50 years of apartheid. I'm not going to go to the colonial 300 years. And 1994 gave us hope. And that was a change to what we expected. We had a different expectation. You see, when the politicians told us there's going to be jobs, there's going to be houses, there's going to be this, there's going to be this, we believed them. We were suckers. We didn't understand that it's not going to happen overnight. And that's the term I hate all my life. Things can happen overnight. I hate that. I want it now because I need it now. But what we see now is sort of a dichotomy. It's a two-level thing. There is incredible progress on one hand, and there is incredible non-progress on the other. And those things are looking at how do we get this nation, how do we get these people, how do we get South Africans to grasp the moment? Because it's about to slip out of our hands. The new revolution is not going to be anti-unemployment, anti-this. It's going to be disappointment on a democracy or a freedom that was never delivered. Well, when I write a play, I don't have the title because if you put a title, it restricts you and confines you to follow what the title says. So I don't write like that. I just had a white actor, brilliant actor, who's played so many of these kings in William Shakespeare's play. So he's very, very experienced. Now he's been cast to play King Lear in Cape Town. But unfortunately, he's suffering from, he's been diagnosed liver cancer stage 4, meaning you ain't got much days left. But he believes he can make this one appearance to play the king. Any actor of worth his salt, you have to play King Lear, but you need to be very, very experienced. You need to be at a certain age, over 60. That's what it demands. All of us are waiting to play King Lear. So, but then he doesn't want to go to a hospice. He could hire a nurse to look after him. Absolutely. So it's fine because when nurses retire, they do what's called caregivers. And they work for these rich families who want to die in the comfort of their own home, surrounded by a family. They don't want to die in some stupid hospital alone. So he then phones the nursing agency. The nursing agency says, yes, we'll send you a nurse. They check around. They say, Sister Kunene will be coming to look after you. But he didn't hear properly. He heard Sister Kun. So he assumed I'm white, blonde, blue eyes, big tits. So that's what he's expecting he's going to live with for his rest of his days, to be looked at by this wonderful, beautiful blonde whiteness. Doorbell rings, it's a white suburb, and I walk in. First reaction, a black man in my house called the police. That's what I wanted to say. The distrust that still exists within this attempt to build a non-racial society, attempt to build a rainbow nation. It is in work in progress, but there are still certain pockets of white communities that resist change. And Jack belongs to that community that doesn't want to see the change, because the change means he loses the position of supremacy, of everything and entitlement. Now, the play examines exactly what would it take if you locked them in a room with a man who's very, very qualified, because Lunga has a BA in nursing and is a high care senior sister in various hospitals. So he is also very independent. So he sells his services for the price he negotiates. So it's not like he's got a gardener or domestic servant. He's got another professional looking after him. Then Jack examines his own racial prejudices, things that even white people sometimes they don't know. When people say sawubona, trying to greet you, sawubona, and that's all they can say. Say, how sawubona mfuthu ninjani? I don't know more than that. That was really bad. Or the fact that they would say, tell me, you people, those words, those words, you keep saying to Jack, it's called Charlotte Maxeke Hospital. He keeps calling it Joburg, Jan. Because that, for me, was a little example of not accepting change. And the concept of black people being corrupt, violent, rape, and everything, it's still stuck in the minds of these young people who grow up knowing white, that this was once my father's country. Now it's our country, and that must include other people. You cannot believe a young boy could pee on a bed and property of a black, another student at Stellenbosch. Where does that come from in 2022? And you say this country has changed. I'm not saying it hasn't. We come from a history where we had the national white government that told people, you do this or you don't do this. You can do this, you can't do this. So they took over the management of a nation, including even white nation included in that. So there is almost that believing in being told. Then we had a sort of a very strict religious, sort of domineering concept that everything must be handed over to the hands of God. God will see it. I remember my mother when she would say to me when I've been arrested or was a militant in the streets and all that, says, Janam, you have to leave this to God. If God wanted you to change, he would have done it yesterday. So now we are in a democratic South Africa. There's a new emerging society, and that society can no longer allow themselves to be dominated by religion or by government. But in a very strange way, we seem to be waiting for the government to do it. We seem to be waiting for someone to deliver it, because that's how the campaign was in 1994, 1993, 94 for the elections. We were told we were being mobilized. We did not take active citizenship. I'm glad you used that. When I'm in England and I'm watching the community, they have the responsibility as individuals. They say, I have rights. You can't talk to me like that. This cannot happen to me. I'm calling now member for parliament to handle this. I was with the people in Boston, in America, and this restaurant, Greek restaurant, was trying to say they sold out, and they're not, because we're about 5 black people. And this girl gets a cell phone and say, Senator George, get your ass out here now. She has the number of the senator. She has the number of the congressman. I don't know who is the counselor where I stay. I don't even know his name or her name. I don't then know the number of the people who are in the city council. I don't know how I can call the mayor just like that. I don't even know how to call the president. Those things are accessible in any other democracy. It's the access to information. So we're failing ourselves as citizens of these countries by not being active and demand, and when we do not get what we want, we get rid of the person or the department we were asking this for. So the change will happen when we take our own political rights and make them the daily normal function of a free human being. We sit here, we say, hey, there are no jobs, this government is not creating jobs. They are in jobs already. They get paid, their councillors, their MPs, their ministers. Why do you think they're going to worry about you getting a job? Get the job. If you can't get the job, go straight to the labor office, go to this councillor and say, what are you doing for this community? What are you doing for me? And that's what I find very interesting in America. It's me. They ain't talking community. It's me. And when we let democracy here to the people, the community, us, now, my brother, it's got to go down to me. It's me. When I started theater, I did it for the community. Sometimes I was not even being paid because I did it for the love of it. I got to a point I thought, oh no, I'm number one. What's in it for me? How much are you paying me? And then I'll do what I want to do. I do movies because I want to make a lot of money. So I don't worry about what's going to happen in another 5 years. And the movies pay. And movies sort of give me the international recognition status. Then I'm known all over the world. I walk down at Paris in the streets and somebody says, excuse me, Black Panther? Wakanda? That's fantastic. Television I do because it gives me the access to your bed, to your living room. Makes me speak to you, makes me see you and entertain you. But basically, mostly, I'm supposed to be entertaining you on television. But I love theater because it is immediate. That's what reminds me that I'm an artist. That reminds me that I serve a community. That reminds me that I need to engage individual and people within the theater on issues that I believe that we've shoved under the carpet. I want to talk about gender issues. I want to talk about race issues. I want to talk about political issues. I want to talk about violence. I want to talk about corruption within government or in structures or even in business, the corporate sector. I can't do that in the movie. It's not place for that. We're doing Star Wars, for crying out loud. We're doing The Lion King. Can we just make a lot of money and move on? I can't do that on television. There's a lot of restrictions. That's a bit too hard. You know, our viewers are very diverse. We're looking at ratings. Theater allows me to tell you exactly where to get off. And you paid for me to say that to you. I've never left theater. Television and Hollywood are in between my work. It's not the other way around.
Okay.
Even now, I'm shooting a movie in Paris. And I told them that we stop, because I got to do this, open my play in Johannesburg at the Joburg Theater. But sometimes there's a break. I'll go over to finish that movie with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. I'm in the meantime doing another installment in Hollywood of The Lion King. I told my wonderful director, Barry Jenkins, an award-winning director, when I finish this season, when I finish the tour after the 16th of July, I'll fly immediately and we continue. So I have now earned the status in this industry for the people to work around my schedule. It takes a long time, my brother, but I've earned that. But basically, if you were to say to me, here's an offer to do this play. And I love the play. It's a powerful play. It deals with entertainment, education, information, engaging within the community. Oh, there's this movie on this side. Which would I choose? The play. But the point is, it's because I'm comfortable enough to make those choices. I'm not imposing this to other artists who are still coming up. I always say, when you're a young artist coming into the industry, please do anything. Do adverts, do anything, accumulate, get your face on the box, get your face in the conscious minds of producers and casting directors and directors. Once you've made it right, then you can start putting certain sort of terms about the conditions under which you work. Young people tend to say, hey, you know, Dr. Kani, I want to go back to my community and I want to give back. He just graduated yesterday. He wants to go back to his community and give back what? Go make the money, go get famous. Once you've made the money, just like the musicians, just like the rappers in the US, as soon as they make those millions, they then go back to the ghetto where they came from, and suddenly they improve a community hall, and suddenly they are conscious of the needs of that community. Dave Chappelle giving about 13 to 15 million to the small town he grew up in. No, just to boost up service delivery to that community. I mean, Denzel Washington, all of them, Michael Douglas, they all go back to the roots where they came from and they give to that community. But you can't do that when you graduated yesterday, when you just got the first job. Just be a little selfish now and grow yourself and make a bit of money to be comfortable. Poor people can't help poor people. It's rich people who help poor people. I have 7 children, 4 sons and 3 daughters. People remember Atandwa because he wallowed and wobbled and ended up doing what daddy does. Yes. But in the dispensing of love, he's number 5. So he knows exactly. When we had this conversation, and I said to him, what are you going to do when you finish matric? He says, now I'm looking at political relations and science. And I was very happy. I'm connected, you see. I could get him a job in an embassy in Washington, D.C., because I could speak to the friends I know. And I'm in New York. I'm doing nothing but the truth on Broadway. And the phone rang at 7, my 7 o'clock. So my wife says, Atanda would like to talk to you. I said, okay, put him on. that I got in at Vista. Says, great drama. I kept quiet, he says, and then he says, that's exactly I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to have this conversation of, are you sure? Because sometimes you're never sure whether he says daddy success, daddy big, daddy popular, and that's what he wants to do, but the heart is not exactly, as passionate and as committed to what he wants to do. So we had a deal, no talk shop. You don't ask me anything. You don't even ask me do you know director so-and-so? Do you know producer so-and-so? Now you're going to make this thing happen and work on your own. And that was it. Of course, as a father, I would say to the director, George Lucas or Steven Spielberg, I got my son. Yeah, I mean, he's working in New York at the moment. He's in a play in New York as we speak. I'll open the door for him. So he doesn't have to knock. Once he steps in, he's on his own. If he can't deliver, he get the next job. If you can't deliver, he can't blame me. It has always been my tradition, whatever play I write or I'm in, first to open in South Africa. Because I've written the play in my mind, my people. Lunga Kunene lives in Orlando. Jax lives in Killarney. So when you put this play on stage, I want people to identify these kinds of name places, situations and contexts. So they're reasonably there. But with this one, I then had an inquiry from the Royal Shakespeare Company, which only does Shakespeare. Their patron is the Queen. The honorary chair is Prince Charles. You can tell me that. They've been in existence for 60 years. And I was offered, 2019, to bring my play to the RSC. And Sir Anthony Sher wanted to play the role of Morris. Sir Anthony Sher is originally from Cape Town, but has been in England all his life. He's even knighted now. So I was very excited about that. So this play opened at Stratford-upon-Avon, the home of Shakespeare, in the area where Shakespeare did his plays. And then when transferred to the West End, that is now big success. It's like Broadway. In England, it's called West End. Now the time came that we're thinking about going to America. But I said, no, I got to do South Africa first. So I'm now at the Joburg Theatre at the Mandela stage. And I will go to Durban at the end from the 20th of June. I'll be in Durban at the Playhouse. And then I will go to my home, which is Port Elizabeth, and there I will perform at the Mandela Bay Theatre Complex. And then we will go to Stellenbosch, right in the heart of, I'm not saying anything, I will put my play there, which is so opportune that it should be in Stellenbosch, right? After that, I got to quickly go, as I told you, to complete the Murder Mystery 2. And from there, I must immediately follow to complete the Disney project, which will take me to the end of October. And then I have to immediately now look at another project that will take me to January, February, maybe in this country as well. And from there on, and then could be the beginning of an international tour. There are couple of movies in between that I have to do. Why do you think I have 7 doctorates? Those universities don't give me those PhDs and without them, deploying me. Whenever I'm here, I will go to the Wits University, Cape Town University, Rhodes University, Natal University, Stellenbosch University. When I'm abroad, I will immediately go to all the drama schools. I get invited at universities as well. In 1989, I started a school with Barney Simon at the Market Theatre called The Laboratory. Yes. And I can see now the fruits of everyone I see. Hardly in one scene on television, I could point out 2 guys who graduated at my school. In my home, Port Elizabeth, Donna and I are setting up the John Kani Performance Center, where I'm trying to create work within the Port Elizabeth, Eastern Cape, so that this migration into no work available Johannesburg should stop, because you should start where you are. You should build yourself where you are. Then you'll be like a talent scout, seen out of that work. But you can't stop people coming from where the water comes from. That's where the well is. Everyone, even in America, is on his way to Hollywood, on his way to New York. And they walk around the streets thinking that they will walk past and identify me. Sometimes it's sad what you see on the Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. These kids with high heels and incredible makeup with fake blonde hair waiting to be discovered. So we're not at that level yet. So I have been doing that. I have never not worked with the community all the time. Here at the Joburg Theatre, I do the school season. I know that this year they're doing The Island, and they're going to be writing an exam on The Island, a play I wrote with Winston John and Arthur Fugard. So I will be rehearsing 2 young actors, and we will perform The Island at the Lycée Theatre. Then they will tour it to the schools around and then I'll go to Port Elizabeth and do quickly Sizubanzi and The Island also, which is part of the school's curriculum, and I will work with 5 actors. As soon as they perform at the theatre, they go to Eastern Cape, mostly the schools. So you educate them well to interact with teachers and the students and to be able to answer exam questions. So I've been doing that all my life. If you could just look at somebody and see the person, and not the concept, not the precepts, not the whole kind of history. There's something beautiful in this. When Jack is confronted by Lunga, Lunga says, "Do you see me?" Not Sister Kunene, not a black man, not a nurse, but do you see me? Just in the eyes, open up and go through the windows of the soul. Do I see him? Or do I always see a white man? So do I always see a man? Do I always see a woman? You know, we talk about these things, just see me. And if we can go out of the theater, having learned that, we could see each other. Then we would respect each other. My mom used to say, we're all created in the image of God. So I always think, if I look at you, I should see the work of God and be of great reverence for your existence.